On a sunny Colorado Sunday, Denver's Mile High Stadium was an aptly named site for one of the National Football League's most dramatic games in some time. A true Rocky Mountain High resulted from this confrontation between two of the most pass-oriented teams in the league, the Broncos and the Steelers. The game produced a total of 10 touchdowns, 70 points in all, and it made history. The first regular season sudden death playoff under the newly revised rules this year. That the result was a tie can in no way diminish the chills and thrills of the NFL Game of the Week, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are a somewhat unique football team. They owe this quality to their innovative coach and general manager, John Ralston, a man who believes in total togetherness for his squad. Such deviant behavior as accompanying his team on field and hand-holding in the huddle comes naturally to Ralston, who is a great devotee of positive thinking. But it is paying off for the Broncos, who turned a 5-9 record around last season and barely missed the playoffs with 7-5-2. Their upset victory over the Steelers kept Pittsburgh from winning their division. Once their coach was safely off the field of play, the Broncos surprised everybody with a daring onside kick to start the game. Jerry Simmons and Otis Armstrong both covered the kick, and the Broncos' special team had made the first big play of the day. Denver had the ball on their own 45. The Steelers were stunned, and Denver had gained an immediate psychological advantage. But that was all it was, for they were soon forced to punt. Here, too, Denver's kicking game prevailed as Billy Van Heusen put the ball out of bounds on the Steelers' 1. This, too, is a result of the new rules. More kickers will attempt the coffin corner to prevent a long run back. Three plays later, Pittsburgh was forced to punt. Bobby Walden kicked sky high, but Charlie Greer's short return brought the ball to the Steeler 45. In the exchange of punts, the Broncos had come out on top, gaining 10 yards. It took only one play for Denver to capitalize. Otis Armstrong took Charlie Johnson's pass and went 45 untouched yards to score. The passing attack had produced the first touchdown, but the Broncos' fine kicking game had made it possible. Denver had drawn first blood 7-0. Now it was Joe Gilliam and the Steelers' turn to show some life. From their own 39, Jefferson Street Joe screened to Steve Davis on the line of scrimmage, and the stocky setback made a great effort and took advantage of fine downfield blocking to go 61 yards to the tying touchdown. A look from our isolated camera demonstrates Gilliam's fast feet and super quick release as the linemen were sucked in to set up the screen. The game was now tied at 7. On the very next series, Charlie Johnson came up with his second long pass of the day, and Haven Moses made it work. A repeat shows the flying Moses had badly beaten his defender and would have scored if he hadn't had to leave his feet. Moses was the main man in the Charlie Johnson aerial show last season. The team led their conference in passing, and with the addition of Otto Stowe, Denver could be even more deadly through the air this season. From the three, Johnson tried Moses again, but Jack Ham batted the ball at the line. However, Moses had again beaten his defender, J.T. Thomas, Pittsburgh's #1 draft pick 2 years ago. So on the next play, Johnson went his way again. The Broncos were now on top, 14-7. Joe Gilliam, determined to bring his team right back, went to the air lanes and hit Frank Lewis, who in turn was hit by Calvin Jones. Number 51, Mike Simone, was the recipient of Lewis's gift and lumbered all the way to the 1. A repeat of the play from our sideline camera reveals little number 26, Calvin Jones, hooked his arm around Lewis and punched the ball loose. It was a big play, a very big play made by a very little man. It will be one of many today for 5'7" Calvin Jones, and the Denver partisans saluted him. From the 1, John Keyworth went in for the touchdown that brought the score to a surprising 21-7 advantage for the Denver Broncos. When Billy Van Heusen punted to Pittsburgh's Dick Kahn, the importance of the new kick rules became vividly apparent again. With room to run, the rookie from Georgia rambled all the way to the Denver 29. But that would be the last shot for the Steelers in the first period, for Kahn's long run was wiped out by a clipping penalty, and the inability of Pittsburgh's receivers to hold on to passes hampered Gilliam's effort to get his team back on the scoreboard. The virtuosity of the Steeler receivers have been much publicized already this season, but in this first quarter they dropped pass after pass and generally were intimidated by the Broncos secondary. Late in the second quarter, however, Gilliam turned to his ground troops and Pittsburgh began to move the ball. First, Franco Harris bruised the Broncos, then Steve Davis, who has replaced Frenchie Fuqua and gives Pittsburgh 2 big backs. When Gilliam returned to the air, 5'7" Cal Jones manhandled 6'2" John Stallworth on the left sideline. So Jefferson Joe went to the other side and hit Frank Lewis at the sideline for a short gain. Once again, Pittsburgh's running backs did more with the pass than the wide receivers could, as Franco Harris took a swing pass to the 1. Harris claimed he was in, but a look from the end zone shows he lost possession of the ball before he reached pay dirt. So, with time running out in the half, the Bronco goal line defense braced to prevent the score. But Joe Willie Gilly took it in personally. At the end of a pass-filled first half, the Steelers had come on strong, but the Broncos still led 21-14. Part of the second half, the Steelers maintained their late first half momentum, forcing a turnover on Denver's third play from scrimmage. Mike Wagner intercepted Johnson's lame duck, and a repeat reveals why. Johnson was hit hard by Joe Green just as he threw, forcing the flutter ball. The Steeler defense, which led the NFL in turnovers last season with 55, 37 of them interceptions, had come up with yet another big play. It would lead to the tying score, but even more important, on the play, Johnson hurt his oft-injured throwing shoulder and would see no more action in the game. His departure left the burden of moving the Broncos on the shoulders of far less experienced Steve Ramsey. This season is Ramsey's 5th in the NFL, while Johnson is playing in his 14th. And moving the ball against Pittsburgh's steel curtain defense can be tough, no matter how long you've been around. With excellent field position, Gilliam moved the Steelers into tie. Franco Harris was the main man on the drive, making a fine catch for 14 yards, then crunching for 10 more down to the Denver 1-yard line. From the 1, Steve Davis banged it home, and the two teams were tied. Pittsburgh 21, Denver 21. But Denver's 21 points did not figure to get any higher. The steel curtain rarely allows that many points, let alone any more. And with Johnson lost, the Bronco offense was hurting. On Pittsburgh's next possession, however, the Steeler offense provided the salve to the aching Bronco offense. Steve Davis fumbled when hit by number 63, John Grant, and Lyle Alzado recovered on the Pittsburgh 41. The break was all the Broncos needed to bust free. Otis Armstrong got 6 on the left side, then blazed through right tackle for 32 yards to the Steeler 3. From there, Ramsey sent Billy Van Heusen in motion to the right, flooding that zone, and hit wide open Riley Odoms for the touch. Though Johnson was gone, a combination of Steeler mistakes and good relief pitching put Denver back on top 28-21. Right back, hitting 4 out of 5 passes on a 73-yard game-tying drive. Repeating this 48-yard hookup with rookie John Stallworth, we can see that Gilliam's fake of the run was not strong, but his crackling arm was, nailing Stallworth in the seams of the zone. Stallworth and Lynn Swan are 2 rookie wide receivers who made the Steeler roster this year. In fact, the Steelers are so deep at the catching positions that Ron Shanklin, the Steelers' leading receiver last year, is yet to catch a pass this season. And now the Steeler receivers, who had betrayed Gilliam in the first half, were catching everything he threw. First, Stallworth made a super catch, outfighting 2 Broncos. Stallworth was ruled out of bounds, but no matter. Gilliam came right back and got a diving catch out of another rookie, Randy Grossman from Temple University. The catch was legal, but officials ruled that Grossman's run was not kosher. From the 10, Gilliam got still another great catch from Frank Lewis. Lewis's feet were in the end zone, but the ball came down on the 1. And from there, Davis scored his second touchdown of the quarter. Game tied 28-all, but the tie would not last long. On the second play of the fourth quarter, Ramsey was blitzed by Andy Russell, and the ball squirted right to Marv Kellum on the Denver 16. 4 plays after Kellum's catch, John Fuqua squirmed in, and Pittsburgh led for the first time in the game, 35-28. On Denver's next possession, Ramsey again turned the ball over when Ernie Holmes forced a fumble, and L.C. Greenwood recovered on the Bronco 32. But this time, the Steelers returned the turnover when Calvin Jones popped a Gilliam pass right to Bronco linebacker Tom Jackson, and the Broncos had a big break. Turnover proved costly to the Steelers when Ramsey hung in despite a hard rush and hit Onis Armstrong. Armstrong's touchdown, his second of the day, tied the score for the 4th time in the game. It was now 35-35, but Pittsburgh would mount 2 more drives in the game's last 7 minutes. On the first drive, Gilliam hit on 4 straight passes, and his receivers held on despite being jolted after every catch. On the Denver 41, Gilliam lost the snap. Pittsburgh retained possession but lost their scoring opportunity, now out of field goal range. The second Pittsburgh drive began on the Denver 42 with 52 seconds left. First, a Gilliam pass to Harris gained 22. Gilliam eventually drove the Steelers to the Denver 8 with 5 seconds left, and another chance to end the game in regulation time rode on Roy Girella's toe. Incredibly, Girella's almost certain 25-yarder was blocked, and the NFL had its first regular season sudden death game with a score 35-all after 4 quarters. Now, according to the new rules, if neither team scores in the sudden death period, the game ends as a tie. But sudden death provides 15 full minutes of tension. Any play can be the last play. Pittsburgh would have the first crack, having won the toss. Chuck Noll's Steelers began the drive from their own 20, too deep in Bronco land to trot out the long stuff. So Gilliam began conservatively, running 3 straight times to reach the Steeler 40. From the 40, Gilliam wanted to open up. But in this, his 3rd season, he has added poise to his God-given ability, and rather than risk the interception, he ran for 10 and a first down at midfield. Then, facing a big 3rd down and 3, Gilliam got plenty of time, used it wisely, and nailed Stallworth for the first down. But after an incompletion, Denver linebacker Tom Jackson made a game-saving play. Jackson blitzed Gilliam back to the Steeler 49 and into a throwing down, and on the next play, Gilliam thought he had number 86, Reggie Garrett, open, but ex-Steeler John Rouser intercepted, ending Pittsburgh's only threat of the sudden death. Now it was Denver's turn. Armstrong, number 24, carried or caught on 8 plays of Denver's 10-play drive to wind up with 107 yards rushing in the second half plus overtime period, while almost single-handedly carrying the Broncos to the Steeler 19. But Ramsey went to the well once too often. And on his last carry, Armstrong lost 5 yards. 4th down on the Pittsburgh 24. Into the game came Jim Turner to try a 41-yard field goal to end the game. A kick that Bronco head coach John Ralston said after the game Turner would make 39 out of 40 times. This one must have been try number 40. Turner missed, and now just 3 minutes remained. Neither team could gain even one more first down, and though they had played a full extra period, the game still ended in a tie. Pittsburgh 35, Denver 35. There are those who will say that the new sudden death rule does not go far enough because, as proved by this game, ties will still exist. But over 51,000 fans who witnessed the game in person will fight you all the way. They had seen one of the most exciting games played in many seasons. And if the sudden death period failed to establish a victor, it did provide 15 extra minutes of gut-grabbing suspense. The Steelers-Broncos game took over 5 hours to play. But when it was finally over, almost all of the 51,000 fans were still glued to their seats.